Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Tony Stark Iron Man issue 11. And this was a pretty good issue. It brought a nice closure to the whole controller story arc. And that's kind of helpful since War of the Realms is going on and we're getting into the kind of tie-in issues going forward. So it starts off and we see that the whole escape's pretty much been shut down and everything's alright on that front. We get in and we see what's going on with the controller at Banetronics and the forces that are kind of fighting him there. We see that Janet says that he's not really happy about that, and we get that the champions come in to also assist. And of course, Bane and Arno know that Tony's up in orbit, and Bane just wants to leave him there to die. And Arno's like, hey, no, he's my brother. Decides to bring him down. Bane gets in contact with the team, and Rhodey helps him out. He's like, what the hell is going on? It's like, oh, okay, yep, got my head back. Get me to one of the warehouses. Of course, Janet then goes off to kind of see what's going on with Tony. He has decided to get to one of Bane's 3D printing, not presses, but like 3D printing places, and he starts getting to work on something to take on the controller. And he's doing it before he can forget the stuff that he learned in the escape, so that way he can bring the God Killer into reality. He's like, holy shit. Janet, of course, is like, hey, Tony, you don't seem okay. He's like, yeah, it got really messed up. Short version is, I'm not me. I'm just a genetic duplicate. This isn't really my real body. Digital mind. We will deal with that later. But Janet looks really concerned, and I'm like, thank you. That's a kind of thing with Janet Van Dyne. She really is concerned for her teammates and showing that concern for Tony. Like, yeah. So we see that the controller's like, hey, you pretty much, I'm a god now. Ha ha ha. And Tony comes busting out with the God Killer. He's like, hey, good since I got this. And I love that Miles is in this. And he's like, hey, did he go Super Saiyan with that kind of power level? I'm like, oh, I was down for a good Dragon Ball reference. And everyone's like, whoa, that thing is like bleeding off energy. Riri is like, whoa. That's, whoo, that's a whole nother level of suit. But of course, the controller was not going to be like, oh, you got a repulsor ray, a unibeam, and he just freaking rocks him, grabs him up, and just like unleashes his energy torrent on him, and it knocks him out. He gets to Riri like, hey, can you create something to siphon off all of his energy? And she, of course, brings up that suit's putting off a lot of energy, and like, don't worry, we'll get rid of this thing. And his plan is to just fly it into Bane's whole production facility and blow it up. And Bane's like, God damn it. And of course, Arno. It's funny. I don't think Arno is going to be a villain really that much. I think he's going to be like a wild card. He's going to have his own kind of goals and objectives that won't always line up with Tony like here, because you see him smiling as Tony takes out Bane's whole production line and is like, okay, we'll have to see how this goes with him. We then get to the fallout of everything. Tony had called this like a pretty big win, but then we get to the losses portion. They have to redo the security infrastructure because Cave's like, it's shot. And Tony's like, hey, gets to a press conference kind of effect, being like, we'll pay for everything, we'll take care of everything. I'm like, yay, good corporate governance. He then goes off. We see that Yocasta and Machine Man are lamenting the death of Friday. And he's like, hey, don't worry, I've got a backup and all that. And she blasts him about his robo-ethics and all that. And it's kind of unfair for Yocasta to kind of go that hard. It's even really rare because Aaron's like, hey, if she knew what you went through in there, I think she'd be a little bit easier, because Tony's even doubting his own humanity at this point. But see, the thing is, it wasn't, Tony didn't know the whole issue of what was going on in the escape at that time, and he really needed an AI for backup and all that. He did not anticipate that there was a rogue element within the escape that would decimate and kill Friday. So I think that the outburst more deals with what completely goes on with the escape rather than just this whole Friday issue. At least that's what I'm kind of getting from it, because we flip over and we start seeing other kind of fallout and all that. We see that Yokasta, Bane's whole thing is they come out on top looking pretty good. They did get some data and all that. We see that Gauntlet is kind of leaving it looks like he's leaving the employ, and Arno is like, hey, I'll leave, but I got some things I want to do, messing around with the Howard and Maria program, so that's going to be some kind of messed up. We see Tony and Janet kind of dealing with that as he brings her more into the effect of what's going on with his head, and she's like, hey, you're a self-made man, you're good, and they proceed to get it on. It's like, okay, cool. I kind of liked that because Janet was being very supportive of Tony, and this in kind of one of his weakest kind of moments. Even though he gets weaker, and there's another weak moment, well, at the end of the issue. But I do like Janet and Tony as a couple. It was kind of weird. I didn't anticipate them going that route, but I hope that they explore this more because I'm liking their dynamics. We switch over. We see that Yokasta has quit from Stark's company, and Aaron's kind of supporting her. They move back in together. She was talking about how she would use the escape to sleep and be more human. It's like, okay, this is going to be an interesting track because she feels that she's lost a part of her with the escape going down. And we'll have to see if she tries to become more human and if that affects her robo-ethics, as she says. It'll be some interesting things as we get through that. Lastly, we see that Tony gets out of bed with Janet and pretty much decides to go to a bar. And, of course, Rhodey's there to stop him, saying that there's a lot of people counting on him, and him bringing up what happened in the escape, it being a jumbled, confused mess, and that he knows he didn't get a drink out in the real world, but it felt like it in the escape, and that it wasn't fair, and that he'd been doing so good, but Rhodey's just like, hey, don't worry about it. This is how it works. You fall, I catch you. And I'm like, yay! Rhodey to the rescue, man. I just really liked how they interweaved a lot of different character dynamics in this issue and really helped focus it on how they kind of interact with Tony and how they benefit him or how he hurts people, kind of like what he did with, well, how he didn't think of how to handle it with Friday and Yokasta and all that. So I'm really excited to see, where the War of the Realms tie-ins go, but also what happens after that and where the next couple of arcs will go. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.